Hello there and welcome. My name is Marcy Bro, and I will be presenting on how to unleash your brand brilliance in order to attract your clients and your ideal tribe. So, before I begin my presentation, I just wanted to say thank you so much for participating in this series of brand content that Deborah has put together and Emily is participating in. These two women have been such an incredible partnership for me, and I know you're getting value and aha from working with them. So, I wanted to take my portion of the presentation to talk about branding from a photography perspective. So, let me share my slides and get into the presentation. Okay, let's see here. Get my slides. It's always hard to see what you're doing on the screen when you have other screens in the way. So the presentation today is Unleash Your Brand Brilliance. And I'm going to talk all about what brand brilliance is and how to capture it so you're using it intentionally. So the first thing that I wanted to do is really give you a concept of why branding is so important, because when you harness the power of your brand and you use that to captivate and engage your ideal clients, it leads to more opportunities, more influence, and more income. So I know there's going to be a lot of conversation in this program about money and mindset, and it really does go hand in hand with your brand and how you show up. And I'm going to tie those two concepts together during this presentation. And again, my name is Marcy Bro. I'm a branding portrait photographer, and I'm so pleased to be speaking with you. I want you to think about your personal brand. We're going to get into what a personal brand is in a moment, but I want you to think about your brand. Are you putting yourself out there boldly, or are you being timid? Because when you have a weak personal brand, it could delay you years from making the kind of money, influence, and opportunities that you want to have. So, by being intentional and having a strong personal brand, that is going to pave the way for you to show up effortlessly and attract the type of business and clients you want. So I call myself a branding boss babe because you know what? Who's going to do it if I'm not going to do that to myself? So it's kind of fun and tongue in cheek, but I wanted to share with you my journey to becoming the branding boss babe that I am today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my story of how I went from where I was earlier in my life to where I am today. And the reason I'm going to share this is because I'm infusing a lot of my brand elements into my story. And really, branding is all about the story. And how are you talking about yourself? And how are you putting yourself out there in a way that's going to really magnetize the right people to you? So I'm going to start by sharing my story. So this is the dark room. So yes, I am a photographer, and I did learn using photography in the dark room. My first experience actually of being in a dark room was very early in life. I remember going into a dark room as a child. I have a specific memory. I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I went into the dark room of my grandfather's basement in his house because my grandfather, here he is, he made his living as a portrait photographer. So early in life, I was exposed to the concept of photography and what went into creating photos. Because as you know, we weren't all using digital cameras back in the day. Film had to be developed. And so I remember going into my grandfather's dark room. By the time I was born, he was retired and he had a dark room in the basement of his home. And I specifically remember seeing all of this photo equipment lined up against the walls, and then these bins where you would put the chemicals onto the paper and develop the film. And I was fascinated. As you can imagine, being a child and really seeing what went on in a dark room was really fascinating to me. So my interest in photography started really early, but I didn't have a direct path from that exposure as a young child to where I am today. Like pretty much all of you, I'm sure, my path went in a few different directions. So these are the cameras that my grandfather had. I've inherited these. I actually have some behind me. And let me show you. This is one of my favorite cameras because this is an original Polaroid. So in this camera model, the Polaroid slide would actually come out of there. You'd pull it out. And this is a flash, and this camera will collapse and make it as smaller so it fits in a case. But look how cool this is. Can you imagine as a young woman getting these cameras and being able to play with them and really see what it was like to have a camera and play with it and create images? And this camera right here that I'm holding, I have it, let me get it, it's up right here. So this camera was one of the first ones that I learned with. So obviously it's a film camera, the film went in the back. And this is one of the first ones that I learned how to do photography with because I had all of these cameras from my grandfather. I was able to take photography class in high school and again in college. And like I said, I was interested in photography and I loved it, but I didn't consider that how I would make a living. But when I started really getting in photography, the people that I was very influenced by were some of the photographers that were really big in the 1990s, like Herb Ritts. So Herb Ritts was a photographer. He specialized in black and white photography, and he really was at the cusp of the supermodel trend. So Herb Ritts and the concept of supermodels goes hand in hand. And I really loved this black and white style of photography. I loved the supermodels. This is an iconic photo down here of Madonna. I was really hooked and I loved that because I realized early on that I liked photographing people. I wasn't the person that was going to photograph sunsets or architecture. I was also fascinated with a photographer named Annie Leibovitz, and she is still putting out photography today, but she got her start photographing for Rolling Stone magazine. And she was one of their very first photographers, and she went on to do a lot of incredible work for Vanity Fair. And I was just really into her work as well. I mean, look at this beautiful photo of Gwyneth Paltrow and her mom. I'm so moved by this. And again, it's all about people and expression. That's what lit me up. That was the seed that was planted early in my life. But when I went to college, I got a degree in advertising. I was really excited about the idea of working in an advertising firm. And I loved the idea of creating advertising, was very fascinated with that. I didn't consider photography my career. So I got a degree in advertising, and I was swept up early in my career into a very techie .com driven world. And I got a job at TV Guide where I worked for 10 years. And so I got to work behind the technical part of TV Guide, where you put listings on TV and cable systems. So it was an incredibly fun job. I got to learn a lot about the technology side that goes into televisions and creating content. And I got to travel with this job. They sent me all over the world. I got to go to Munich and Amsterdam and all kinds of incredibly cool places, which was so fun and fascinating because the company was paying me to travel. That was incredibly cool. And it was really scratching an itch that I had as a young woman. And I had an office in Hollywood, California. So I had an office right here. This is the view from my office window that I had at the time when I was working for TV Guide. It overlooked Grauman's Chinese Theater. This is where the actors get their star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So very glamorous. It was so fun because I got to travel and I was exposed to this really cool Hollywood lifestyle. But maybe some of you can relate. As fun as this was, and from the outside looking in, it did feel very glamorous. But after a while, after 15 years of working in a career that was fast paced, go, 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 I really started to question, is this all there is? Is this what I'm doing in my life? And I started to feel like this. I started to feel just swept up in all this chaos. And I was also realizing this is another part of my brand, which is going to come in later. I had this job, but I also was getting very interested in the world of sustainability and green business practices. And I had a thriving passion for Mother Earth and eco-friendly. And then I was looking at the job I was doing, and it really wasn't filling any of those values that I had. And it became frustrating to me because I realized I was in this world running really fast to keep up with the next project. And we were a publicly traded company. So every single quarter, it was just, there was no room to breathe and really ask myself, is this fulfilling? Does this line up with my values? But when I did have those questions creep into my head, the answer was no. And I really started to not be participating in my job. And it felt like a job and not something that lit me up. So, you know what I did? I quit. I left. After 15 years, I left a thriving career. I was climbing my way up the corporate ladder, but then I looked at to where the ladder was leading, and I was like, this doesn't fill me up. So, for the first time ever in my life, I allowed myself to take time off. I took time off. I traveled for about 3 months around this incredible country and into Canada. And I finally had time to stop, think, really listen to my heart, which is where the kernel of the branding process that I'm going to explain to you today really started to show up in my life. In these moments of stillness, I asked myself, what is it that I'm passionate about? And yes, I was passionate about advertising and marketing and branding. I really did love that career. I didn't want to just throw that 15 years of a career away because I really did was inspired by it. But I knew that I really wanted to work for myself. So I let myself dream about the idea of being a photographer, because this is something I was just doing on the side. I wasn't doing it full time, and I certainly wasn't getting paid a healthy income to be a photographer at this time. But I decided through some stillness and some thinking, I wanted to combine my passion and my career with my side hustle and my hobby. So that's where all this comes together. And I stand before you today and I say that I am a branding photographer. So, what a branding photographer is, it's a photography service that is marketing driven. So these aren't just like gorgeous photos of you, these aren't just pretty pictures. These are photos that are really telling a story about you, and they're going to be used in your marketing. So as you can see, this was a perfect fit for me because I get to be an entrepreneur and combine the skill sets that I have. And so what I wanted to show you is some clients that I've worked with that really had the boost from having their brand captured in photos. So I'm going to show you some before and after photos, and the before photos aren't bad or wrong. They're just photos that were taken before these clients had a lot of like branding work with intention done in their photos. And I was just speaking with a woman this morning that I did branding photos for in December. And I'm sharing this because she said it so beautifully. And I was like, wow, this is so cool how she really summed up this entire presentation that I'm giving with a very short sentiment. So she said to me, we had a discussion, we're going to be doing some more branding photos together. She said to me that the power of going through a branding photo shoot really gave her the confidence to put herself out there in a way that she didn't before. And I had a hair and makeup artist come in, so she got a full hair and makeup glam session done before her photo shoot. And then at the end of the photo session, she was now gifted a whole portfolio of images that told this story that she was trying to tell. And she said to me today, she's like, really, it was the photo shoot that helped me really step into that next level version of myself. And I was incredibly touched, because that is music to my ears. If I can bring that to my clients, that I feel like then my work is done and I feel complete. So I just wanted to share that with you, because that really touched my heart, and that truly is the intention I want to give people. So let me show you some case studies. So the first one I'm going to start with is Jenny. And so Jenny, these are the photos that she had before. She didn't really have a branding photo shoot. So when Jenny came to me, she was shifting careers, and she had written a book, and she was putting herself out as a speaker. And so she needed photos that were really representative of this like dynamic personality. So when I first met with Jenny, I said, okay, well, tell me, how do you want to be seen? And so she gave me a list of words that included, she wanted to be seen as a pro speaker. That was big for Jenny, because she really didn't have any photos that she could put out to put herself out there as a speaker. She was an author too, and she wanted to be seen as more energetic and vibrant. And so Jenny worked with a clothing stylist. So this is the power of coming together with multiple people that are really focused on your brand. So when Jenny worked with a clothing stylist, the stylist took her shopping and they put this together. Wait till you see. Look at this amazing creation. So on the top left, you'll see Jenny. This is kind of her signature stage outfit. It's this white pantsuit with a pink shirt underneath, and she just rocks it when she gets on stage. And so after her branding photo shoot, I really do think that Jenny is stepping in and owning these words, these feelings that she wants people to have when they see her in her marketing. The next woman is Chrissa. And so Chrissa, she's obviously adorable. So it's not hard to make an adorable girl look amazing. But when I worked with Chrissa, I said, okay, tell me about where you're growing. How do you want to be seen by your audience? And so Chrissa told me that she wanted to be seen as like a healthy mom, someone that could help other moms, clear out kind of some clutter and all the space that gets taken up in your head. And she's going to help other moms creating healthy recipes and workout routines that fit into their lifestyle of being a mom. And so Chrissa and I worked together to really bring that vision to life. And here are some of the photos that we did. So we showed her working out, and it was easy. You don't need a lot of fitness equipment to do the workouts she does. She's a healthy eater. So we brought this amazing lineup of food to her kitchen. And we also had to include her kids in the photo shoot, because that's a huge part of her story. So this is Vanessa. And Vanessa is an interior designer. But when I saw her before photos, I realized, okay, well, she's blending into the upholstery of her rooms. So she told me she had a few photo shoots, and then she had this one, which I didn't do, but I was like, this is much better because there's color. She looks a little more modern and hip. But Vanessa said to me, Marcy, I've been doing Pilates and I have lost some weight. So I'm really excited to take more photos of me in my new, leaner body. So Vanessa also worked with the clothing stylist. And I'm mentioning that because I know that Emily is talking to you about the power of realizing how to step into your brand and represent yourself in your clothing. So that's the power of working with a stylist, is you get to really represent what your brand is. So Vanessa said she wanted to be seen as more energetic, vibrant, sophisticated. And so this is what the stylist helped Vanessa put together. So again, it's all about accessories for her and bright colors. And we did photos for Vanessa in what's it called when interior designers have these showrooms. That was the word I was looking for. So we did photos for Vanessa in her element. So the next woman is, this is Crystal. And this is a screen grab from one of the videos. So Crystal does a lot of videos and training for retailers on social media. And Crystal is young and cute, but almost she skews a little too young. And so Crystal wanted to be seen as someone who was more of a boss lady, someone who had a very techie driven approach to social media, and someone who was playful. So we did these photos for her. We did a whole series of photos. Some were in her office and some were in my studio, but we wanted to show that she was a little more techie and polished and hip. So this was important. This was important for Crystal to show. And so this photo here, again, this is an example of someone who is moving from one career into the next. And so this is more of a corporate photo, but I asked her, how do you want to be seen by your ideal clients? And she was moving into a yoga space. She had created this beautiful studio in her home. And so she needed to really shift her approach. And so Paula wanted to be seen as more spiritual, someone that you would come to when you need a yoga practice or maybe some spiritual infusion, someone that was really heart-centered. And also she knew she wanted to look age appropriate because, she was moving into a career later in her life, and her ideal client is someone that is 40 and older. So Paula wanted to represent all of this in her photos. So we took these photos for her, and this is her home studio, which is gorgeous. And so it was the perfect place to do these photos for Paula. Another case study is Vasi. So Vasi is someone that leads retreats and she does corporate development, but she uses artwork as the modality to teach people how to be in communion and how to be together and how to lead teams. She uses artwork. So I asked Vasi, I said, how do you want to be seen by your ideal client? Which is a question I'm going to ask you later. So if you're paying attention, you're going to get asked that question later. So Vasi wanted to be seen as creative and someone who was really heart-centered and very mindful. And so what we did was we did these photos for Vasi, and you'll notice that she did a lot of photos showing her art. She's actually posed in front of a piece of art that she's done, and then the pieces that she uses to create the art. And so these are the power of really being intentional about the kind of photos that you create to attract your ideal clients. So this woman's April, and I love this photo of her. It doesn't mean that the before photos are bad, because look how cute this photo is. But April changed her hair. She grew her hair longer. So that's one thing. Us ladies love to change our hair up. So that often is a trigger for people getting new photos. Either they've lost weight like Vanessa or they've changed their hair. But April is a web and digital marketer, a web designer and digital marketer. She actually created my website, which I love so much. Not only do I love the way my website looks, but my website is a performance machine. My website will take a lead and help me convert it into a sale before I even pick up the phone. So this is what I love about April, is she's very tactical. She's always looking at the data. So when I talked to April, I said, tell me about how you want to be seen. And it was important for her that she really plays up her California lifestyle, because she has this beautiful office right by the beach in Carlsbad. And when she's not working, she's playing on the beach, she's out in the desert. It's very important to her that she showed that she was like, easy breezy California, but also she wanted to share that she wasn't just a web designer that made pretty websites. She was analytical and she was a digital strategist. So what I did for April was I came into her office, and it's decorated with this beachy vibe. You can see the ocean from her office. And so I showed her working with analytics by whiteboarding and by being on the computer, because April's not just a pretty face. She's very smart and she's incredibly talented at what she does to create websites that convert. And then this is Jessica. And so when I said, Jessica, this is such a cute photo. Like, what do you want other than this? She said, well, I want more than just one photo. And I've changed my hair. And she's like, I think I need to be a little more sophisticated, maybe a little more polished. And so we met and we did photos in my studio. And this is what we did for Jessica. She has a real estate business. And so what she does is she wants to show people that she's like accessible, warm, fun, and polished. So this is what we did for Jessica during her branding photos. So I wanted to show you all of those case studies to really give you an example of the power of being intentional about your brand. And when I think about a personal brand, what I like to say is the promise of an experience. So when you're using your brand and you're putting yourself out there, whether it's social media or you're doing email newsletters or you're putting yourself out there at networking events, when you're clear on what your brand is and what your value is, people should know what it's like to work with you before they even say yes to hiring you. So your personal brand will actually be doing some heavy lifting and some selling for you before you even meet your clients. So it's a pre-sales tactic, really. It's getting people prepared to understand who you are and what they're going to get when they work with you. So I want to take this time and I want to help you to get clear on your personal brand. And so you have a workbook and there are some prompts that I'm going to give you. You don't have to take your time to carve out right now to fill out these prompts. I encourage you to return to the workbook when you have some time to think and really do some mindset around these parts, because this is the process that I take my clients through. When someone agrees to work with me, they start with a brand planning session. So before I even talk about what the photos are going to be, I need to get clear on what their brand is, because the way I photograph somebody is very different than the way I photograph the next person, because this is not cookie cutter. This is not generic. Your brand, whether it's how you talk about yourself or what visuals you're using, your brand is going to tell your story. And so I need to get clear on what is your story. So I have a recipe that I use. And so I put together a recipe, which is your vision, your voice, and your visuals. And then when you combine all three of these elements, this is your brand. So in your workbook, you have a section called your vision. If you have not done this for yourself in recent years or ever at all, what an incredible process to really think about what is your vision for your life, your business, your family. I really want you to think about these questions and spend some time answering them. What are you passionate about? What are your biggest gifts and talents? What's the impact and contribution you want to make to the world? So when I was doing this work on my own, I kept coming up with answers when I was very new in my business. I was doing this work on my vision. I kept coming up with, my vision is I want to be an eco-friendly company. I want to give back in a way that's incredibly beneficial and powerful for our planet. I don't want to be taking resources. I want to be replenishing resources. It was incredibly important to me that I align myself with sustainability. So my vision for my business was to be green and eco-friendly. And I am so proud to share with you that I've officially set my company up and I'm recognized by the state of California as a certified green business. It was a lengthy process that I went through, but my company is green and eco-friendly. And I tell my clients, when you work with me, a portion of what you pay me is going to go towards green businesses that I support. I'm very passionate about giving back and putting my money and supporting the causes that I believe in into action. So this is an example of how my vision contributes to my company. So I'd love for you to really think about, what's your vision? How do you want to give back? What's the impact you want to make? Because your vision and your impact doesn't have to be separate from your business. In fact, I took one of my first investments I made as a new business owner was I invested in Marie Forleo's B School. And if you don't know Marie Forleo, she's this amazing, bubbly personality. She's a life coach, and she really focuses on getting people to have a business and life they love. And so when I was doing the work for B School, Marie kept saying, your business needs to stand for something. And I already knew that I was incredibly passionate about sustainability. And so when she said this to me, it really gave me permission to set up my business as an eco-friendly, sustainable business and to contribute and use my voice. So on my homepage, on my website, on the About Me page, you can read all about my promise to you as an eco-friendly business. And I stand by all of that. So I would encourage you to see how I use this vision as part of my brand. So the next part of the formula is your voice. So this is how you speak about yourself, whether you're literally speaking or you're writing. What are the words that you are going to use when you talk about yourself? And more importantly, here's that question: how do you want to be seen by your ideal client? Because this drives everything. How do you want to be seen? How do you want to show up in the world? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? This will align with the rest going forward. If you're clear on this, then that will inform the rest of your brand. And so this is very important too. And so what I encourage you to do in your workbook, I've given you some examples of words because sometimes it's hard to think of things on our own. We might need some prompts. So I've given you some prompts. So feel free to circle the words that are lighting you up and how you want to be talked about, and then come up with your own words too. And so this will be the basis of how you talk about yourself, the words you use. And when you're introducing yourself in person, you really can infuse this there too. So take some time and really figure out how you want to present yourself. The last part of this equation is your visuals. Okay, so now we know your vision. Now we know your voice, your brand language. Now we need to show this in your photos and your videos. And so I have a recipe that I like to use. And if you're a cook like I am, the way I use recipes is it's a suggestion. So I don't follow recipes word for word. Sometimes if I don't have something, I'll substitute it with something else. So this is how I want you to approach the recipe with your visuals. So this applies whether you're working with a professional photographer or you're taking your own photos or you're doing a mix of both. So I want you to have a mix of these visuals as part of your branding arsenal. So I'm going to go through and show you some examples. So the first thing that you need is a headshot. Yes, if you don't have a headshot, obviously this is the first thing you need. If you have nothing else, you need a great headshot. So a couple of things that make a really good headshot is that you're looking directly at the camera. Also, you want the headshot to be cropped in a little bit close. It's a head and shoulders shot. That's why it's called the headshot. If you're too far away, sometimes you get lost in the scenery. The full body shots are great. That's a different part of the recipe. But for a headshot, I like to say that's the equivalent of making a visual handshake. I'm going to, sorry, my phone is ringing. So I was distracted by that. But the headshot is like making eye contact with someone. So you don't want to be wearing sunglasses, and a headshot is not a photo where you're giving a silly face or you're cropping somebody out of the photo. This is a photo of you. This is your professional introduction. So make it a good one. So So another visual element that you need in the recipe is lifestyle photos. So these are photos of you out in the world doing things that you enjoy doing. For me, I have a lot of photos of me doing things like surfing and biking and hiking and camping, because that's how I love to spend my time when I'm not working. And it's really incredible when I share these photos, how many people resonate with that. They're either like, oh my gosh, I do that too. Where do you surf? Where are the best trails to go biking on? And it starts this conversation. Or they're like, hey, that's pretty rad. I appreciate that you do that. So when you're sharing about what you're doing when you're not at work, people notice, and people love photos with your kids and your pets in them, because it really gives them a sense for who you are when you're not working. So another thing I like to say is, if you have a work environment, show people what it's like when you're working. And so if you're doing a service, if you're not like, a florist like this woman, or a yoga instructor like this other woman, if you have a service, you can still show what it's like in your work environment. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. You want shots of your product or service. So if you have a product, that's easy because we can take photos of your product or people using your product. But if you have a service, we need to show what that's like. We need to show you in action. We want to show people what it's like to work with you, or what you're doing when they hire you. So for example, this woman makes chocolate. So I showed her actually creating her product. People want to know what goes into the product. So she's holding the final box, but I was like, let's back up and show people all the steps it takes to make this beautiful package of chocolate. And here's another example of people that have a service. The top is a clothing stylist. I had her styling her friend at a boutique, and the bottom is a home stager. So really, it's important for you to show people like what it's like when they work with you, because often they're not there when you're doing the service. Or if you're working with someone, what I like to say is, let's bring in a friend or a client to play your client, and we're going to photograph you actually working with that person. And it's also important to be strategic. You want to show yourself working with people that you want more of. So if your demographic is teenage girls that are about to go to college, that's who you're going to show yourself working with. If your demographic is parents, older parents that have young kids, they're trying to juggle work and life, you're going to show that person, because your clients are going to look at these photos later and be like, that's me. Oh, or that's my daughter. This person is working with exactly who I am. So again, it's being strategic and showing people that they're potentially your future clients. So here's an example of somebody in their work environment, and this is a client. She's a marketer, and so she didn't have a cute home office, and she didn't work out of any kind of cute, trendy space. So we just created this space for her in my studio, and I do that a lot. I said, let's just bring part of your office in, and we'll create it together. So we created this office space in my studio. Another really cool thing to show is the tools you use when you work. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't really have any great tools. I work on the computer all day. Well, get a little more creative. Like, are you someone that is a journaler? Do you write notes by hand? Are you someone that's a reader? Do you like to read? Are you into self-development? So really show, the tools that you're using when you're working with clients, or you're using to develop yourself as a professional. And then styled or stock photos. The photo on the right is what they call a flat lay. And so this is taken from above, and you arrange some things on the desk, and then you could put, if you're using a phone or a computer, you can always put a screenshot on that in post-production to promote something. If you have like little details that you have in your office or in your workspace, it's awesome to photograph those too. And personal photos. People love pets. If you have a pet, make sure you're showing that, because people will engage with that. And show your family and show what you do, in really showing your family in a setting that resonates with you. That's really important. And I wanted to let you know, don't forget about the horizontal photos. Even if you're taking photos with your phone, a lot of times when we're taking photos with our phone, we've been trained to do them vertically like this. If you're making like an Instagram story or a Snapchat, you're taking a vertical photo. But from a graphic design standpoint, the vertical photo has much less use than a horizontal photo. So make sure, even if you're taking photos with your phone, make sure you're taking horizontal as well, and leave lots of space, negative space. So you can add, like this graphic designer added some words around her. This is a perfect example of having some negative space on the side. So I took these photos and really put him more towards the right. So on the left, there was all this room for the text on his website. And again, like really creating lots of negative space so you can, the graphic designer will thank you. When you have a photo that's not cropped super tight, when there's some room, some breathing room for them to add it into a design or add text and graphics. So that's just something that we don't think about if we're not thinking like a graphic designer. So I really want you to keep that in mind. So that is my recipe for the visuals and the voice and the vision. I just wanted to let you know that when you step in front of a camera lens, when you say yes to having your photo taken, people notice. When you are posting these beautiful photos that are authentic to you, people see that you've invested in yourself. People see that you consider yourself worthy. And you are worthy. You're here. You're investing your time and effort and energy into really figuring out your brand and overcoming some blocks that might be holding you back from creating the income that you deserve. You are worthy. So I just want to let you know that if you are hiding and you're not saying yes to being in front of the camera, when I take photos for professionals, I always remind them, if they're feeling a little constricted about it, I say, this isn't a vanity project. This is for your business. This is an opportunity for you to shout from the rooftops, this is what I'm about. This is who I want to work with. Who's out there? Who's my tribe? So when you're saying that you're worthy, people notice and they respond to that. If you are watching this and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to get updated photos, or I need photos, I would love to work with you. I would love to have that initial conversation about what is your photo shoot going to look like. So my offer for you is to respond to me directly. I have my contact information below, and it's also in your workbook. I would love for you to reach out for a completely complimentary consultation. So what this offer is, it's an opportunity for us to get on the phone, or usually I like Zoom, so I can share some ideas on my computer. So I want you to reach out to me by email and schedule your complimentary consultation. And in that consultation, we will talk about what kind of branding photos would be amazing for you. And I will share some packages. I have packages for people that are ready to create content for the whole year, or people that are just getting started and they just need a little bit of photography content. So wherever you fit on that spectrum, I have a package for you. But I really want to have a conversation. I want to start asking you these questions. And I would love for you to really fill out some of those pages in the notebook about what's your vision and what's your voice. And then we can take that and start the conversation from that place and have a really juicy conversation about how I can help you show up and be seen in this world, because I want you to make the money that you deserve. Are you hearing me? Do you really hear it? Because you do. You deserve to make the kind of income that you desire. Because I know that if you are attending this workshop, you have big plans and you have a big vision for yourself. But we need you to look the part. I don't want you to play small anymore. I want you to be the kind of person that steps into herself and says, I'm owning it. Today's the day that I'm stepping out and I'm really authentically telling my story. Because when you do that, I promise you, you will attract the exact type of person that you should be working with, that's going to light you up and fill you up, and they're going to pay you for your service. And there's no better feeling. I can be reached. Here is my contact info. I am a living, breathing example of someone that decided to really step into my power and really harness my brand and be ruthlessly intentional about the kind of people that I wanted to work with. So let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. Let's see if I can do that. Hold on. Okay, so what I wanted to do is have just before I end this segment of the presentation, I wanted to give you me as your inspiration. I have been doing self-development work and business building work and doing the work constantly for the last 7 years. I have been doing non-stop development work, and I am here to say, no bullshit, I am attracting my ideal client on repeat. My calendar is booked. I'm full. I don't have any last minute appointments. I'm fully expressed in who I am, what my values are, and I am very clear about the type of person that I want to work with. The people that are attracted to that find me. And there's no better feeling as a business owner when someone finds you and they say, I'm really interested in what you're doing. Can we talk? Like, that's the holy grail. I don't have to convince people to work with me. When I have sales conversations, it's not a conversation about me convincing them that they need to work with me, because they're pre-convinced. They already know they want to work with me, because my branding's on point and I come from the heart and I'm truly clear on my value, what I can give to my clients, and what I represent and what I stand for. I'm really clear on that. And because all of those pieces are aligned, my ideal woman is finding me on repeat. And truthfully, if I had a crystal ball 7 years ago when I started my business in earnest, I might not have believed it. I might have thought, okay, it's kind of, maybe it's not that authentic. But to be in this place now where I can look back on the work that I was doing and the things that I was journaling about and the things that I was wishing for and all of the stuff that I did to get myself here. And if I could talk to my former self and be like, you did it, you're here, that would be the inspiration that I would need to keep going. And I'm telling you this because it's work. There is no like easy button. You don't just click your fingers and say, okay, I'm making the money I want and I have the kind of clients I want. It's work, it's investment, but it paid off for me. And I just want you to see that it's so rewarding and it's so powerful. And if you're feeling like you're not there yet, I want that for you. So from my lips to God's ears, may you find the kind of clients and may you find the kind of opportunities and rewarding work that's there for you, because the world does need you. Thank you so much for spending your time watching this. And I'd love to hear some comments after the workshop. I'd really like to know, did you have any ahas? Did you have any like vision statements that you want to share? Really would mean a lot to me if you shared that. And I'd love to really kind of keep up with your journey. like I said, you can email me. And my email, I realized I didn't even have on that slide. Email is my preferred way to communicate, and I didn't even have it on the contact slide. But my email is hello@marcybro.com. So you're invited to reach out to me for a complimentary consultation. And I really, really am excited to see where you go, what this year is going to bring for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I honor you, and you are worthy. Thank you.